Hey, what's going on, guys? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is that you're watching this video. Um, so let me get right to it. The other day I was driving, and I have a bunch of CDs. I'm old school, right? So I still have a lot of CDs from the late '90s, early 2000s, right? Different times of my Christianity, right? I remember I used to listen to a lot of worldly hip hop music, right? Gangster rap, different types of music. And I remember when I came home from prison after I had decided to like fully give my life to the Lord and try to submit more and surrender certain things to Him, I got rid of all my worldly CDs. I remember I did it, I think it was like on the second day that I was home. And I didn't do it on the first because I had other things going on. But on the second day, I went in my room. I looked at all the things that I felt God was calling me to get rid of. And a lot of my CDs were um, things that He was calling me to get rid of. The worldly music that I knew would influence me and play a role in my development as I grew with Christ. I knew that if I was still listening to worldly music and still indoctrinating myself with the message that a lot of these gangster rappers were putting out, I wasn't going to be able to grow as fast as I wanted to or be as close to God as I wanted to. That's knowledge that the Lord put in me as soon as I came home. And I even knew that when I was looking at my CDs, I thought about giving them away to my brother or my friends or certain people, and I even knew like why would I feed them something that I knew wasn't good for my own spirit and my own soul. So I knew I just had to get rid of them. And if I recall, I think some of my boys were a little upset when I told them that I threw them away. They were like, "Hey, why didn't you just give them to me?" Right? But so the other day I'm driving, and I grabbed one of my CDs before I leave, and I hadn't listened to it for a while. It's an older CD. It's a CD by Lecrae. It's his Rehab album. Amazing, amazing album. I still remember when I first heard that Rehab album, and it was the soundtrack for a certain period in my life. I forget exactly what year it came out, but I still remember, and I still remember the feeling that I got when I listened to one song, then the next song, and then the next song. And at the early stages of my Christianity, I would buy Christian CDs, hip hop Christian artists, and I didn't really know who they were, so I never knew what I was gonna get. And every once in a while, I would get a good song here and there, but for the most part, I wasn't really feeling it too much. Except for the cross movement, right? When I heard the cross movement, every song hit, right? And it was kind of the same thing with Lecrae. When Lecrae came out, same thing, and I think he was under cross movement, and pretty much cross movement at that stage of my Christianity. I tried out different labels, Grape Tree Records, a few different ones, and none of them really did it for me. They had a few artists here and there, but cross movement never disappointed, right? And Lecrae was right up there with them, even though he was under their label. I think he was also with Reach Records, so his own label, right? So I still recall that album, and every song was just a great song on the Rehab album, right? So I was driving the other day after I dropped off my kids at school, and I'm listening to it, and the song Boasting came out. And if you're familiar with that song, you'll know what I'm talking about. And if you're not, I strongly recommend that you listen to the song Boasting by Lecrae. And it got me thinking a lot. It got me thinking a lot about Lecrae, about his music, about what happened to him, about the judgment that he received from a lot of the Christian community, right? And if you're not familiar with it, let me explain. At some point, people say it was his Gravity album, that after his Gravity album, something changed, right? And I would have to say yes, um, definitely after the Gravity album, his message wasn't as strong, like gospel centered, right? The message of Jesus wasn't as strong. And it slowly, from what I understand, slowly got more watered down, right? To where he still calls himself a Christian artist. But I believe his words were that he is a Christian artist, but that doesn't mean that all the songs that he puts out are going to be about Jesus or about the gospel, right? And so he caught a lot of criticism for this, right? He caught a lot of criticism. He obviously became very popular. Even secular artists respect him. He started working with a lot of secular artists. A lot of non-Christians will listen to some of his newer albums. So he became very well known, even in the secular music genre, right? A lot of people know who Lecrae is. And some people felt that he used Christianity as a stepping stone to kind of get his music out there. And that he used us, Christians, that he used us to kind of like support him at the beginning. And then once he got known, he just kind of like left Christian lyrics and the Christian message kind of behind, and kind of like started making music more for the world, for a worldly audience. Now, I'm gonna just kind of put out my opinion, because obviously this is my channel. I don't think he did that. I don't think he meant to do that. I believe that his Christian albums were really Christian influenced. I think that they were really like, it was coming from a place of genuine Christianity, of genuine faith. I don't believe that he could have penned down the lyrics that he did, especially like Boasting and some other ones. Those, to me, when I listen to him as a believer, they come from the pen of somebody that genuinely knew the Lord and genuinely understood the gospel and their need for Jesus and their need for salvation. And they strongly understood their own sinfulness. I forget what song it is, but there's a song in Rehab that every time I hear that song and this verse hits, it just like hits me, man, because it says, if heaven ain't a gift, then I ain't getting in, right? That's a man who truly understands the gospel and their need for Jesus Christ, right? So even some Christian rap artists came out with songs kind of calling him out. I don't recall exactly who they were. I think Evangel came out with one. And Evangel didn't become as famous as Lecrae or Cross Movement, but I believe he put out a song kind of calling out Lecrae. This is what I want to say. As believers, we have no right to say that a man is not a Christian, that his Christianity wasn't sincere, that he is bearing no fruit unless we walk with that man, unless we are doing life with that man. We, as consumers of his music, we as his fans never had a right to determine whether he was saved or wasn't saved. We never had a right once he started to kind of mellow down, to kind of watered down a little bit the Christian message in his music. We didn't have the right to say that he was never saved. The only people that can genuinely tell you if Lecrae is a real, genuine Christian is his family, his wife, his children, and his closest circle. The people that know his character, the people that know how he treats other people, the people that see how he carries himself on a daily basis. You cannot determine that through lyrics in a music, through lyrics in somebody's music. Now, watch this. If his music is still good, if it's still touching on good things, like the apostle said, whatever is good, whatever is pure, whatever is of good report, think on these things, right? If his music is still good and is still promoting holiness, righteousness, if it's still celebrating God's creation, if it's still celebrating all the goodness of God and the gifts of God and family and things like that, right? Obviously, if his music is now promoting the kingdom of darkness, then, you know, that's very clear. But from what I understand, his music is still very positive, is still keeping in line with Christian beliefs, with Christian morals, with Christian ethics. As far as I understand, I don't listen to his music too much anymore. I really enjoy his older albums. I really had been blessed by his earlier albums. And as a fan of his, as a Christian man, I just wanted to speak on that. You know, we don't have a right to say that the man is not saved, that he was never saved, unless we truly know him and know his character, right? There's been a lot of Christian hip-hop artists that have gone down the same path. You know, T-Bone, I can't think of a lot of them off the top of my head, right? But there's been a lot of them that at the beginning of their careers, they were very, very strong, lyrically speaking, promoting the gospel, the name of Jesus. And then, you know, a few albums later, and even at first, some of them in their earlier albums would criticize other rap artists, Christian rap artists that had deviated a little bit from the Christian message. And then their fourth album or a few albums down the road, they're doing the same thing. So my message is this: we have to be very careful with the claims that we make pertaining to another man's salvation and his relationship with the Lord. Do I wish that Lecrae was still making music like he used to? Of course I do. But I will never take away from his gift. I will never take away from the fact that his music blessed me, edified me. And so, to finish off this video, I doubt he will ever see this video, but for whoever sees this, I just want to say thank you, Lecrae. Thank you. Thank you for the music that you did put out at the beginning. Thank you for the songs that you put out. Thank you for the album Rehab. Thank you for the album Real Talk. Thank you for the album Rebel. Rebel, another one of my favorites too, right? I just want to say thank you, Lecrae. I want to say I hope that you are walking with the Lord. I hope that your faith is still strong, is still intact. And I hope that someday you put out another album that is strongly gospel-centered. I would love to see what you could do now with how far you've come with your music. So anyway, everybody be blessed. That's just my small take on Lecrae, on Christian hip-hop. Like I said again, we have to be very careful how we judge people. And as long as I would say that their message hasn't deviated completely to the dark side, as long as it's still keeping in line with with Christian morals, Christian ethics, but they're not saying the name of Jesus all the time, or promoting the gospel in a very strong way, we have to be very careful with the judgments that we make. I'll touch on one more thing before I go, because we're talking about art and artists, right? If you have a man that paints on a canvas, right, and he is a Christian man, you don't expect him to always paint pictures of Jesus, to always paint pictures of the cross, to always paint pictures that are pulled out straight out of the gospel stories in the Bible. Sometimes he will paint a beautiful landscape. Sometimes he will paint things that will speak to you through God's creation. And you wouldn't say, if you saw a painting that was just an amazing, beautiful painting, you wouldn't say that man is not a Christian because he painted something that's not completely gospel-centered. unless he was painting demons, painting things that promoted the darkness, painting things that were sexually perverted, then you would have a right to say, wait a minute, what's going on here, right? Just a little analogy for you to think things through a little bit. But anyway, I'm gonna go. I'll leave you guys with this video, something to think about. To all the Christian hip-hop artists out there, whether you're famous, whether you're not, whether you're doing it just for your local church, keep Jesus first. Keep Jesus first. Keep your faith strong. And of course, you know, let your faith be shown more in your lifestyle and in the way that you treat others than in your music. But obviously, the goodness of God has to be transmitted through your music one way or another, right? Jesus is the way. Let's never forget that.